audience, raise your hands. We can see some people way back there. How many of you guys are using Google Apps for Education with your students? Okay, that's awesome.
That's great.
How many of you guys your district is moving toward using Google Apps for Education? And how many of you guys are rogue and you're just using Google accounts with your students? Great, that's what we used to do, by the way.
That's where we started. Yeah.
So hopefully everybody's got this website and you're going to be able to follow along. And we're going to jump into it. So we're going to jump to, right now, the Why Google. So our first question up there says, interested in collaboration, sharing, and document analysis anywhere, anytime? And then it says, if yes, then go ahead and hang out with us for a little while. And Google Apps is for you, or using Google accounts is for you. If no, we would like you to leave.
Lunch is great over on the walk, a nice cool breeze.
We went to the Lone Star yesterday. Left a little bit early. We were starving. But no, we want you to stay because we want to convince you. So a couple things when we look at benefits. Number one, we also put a link on there. What is the cloud? If you are not familiar with the cloud, this is a great little video that will explain how it all works. Or share that with your colleagues who are still like, I don't understand the cloud. What is this thing? So have them look at that link right here. Benefits, big benefits. Dan, you want to cover?
Sure. Access anywhere with an internet connection. Anybody on their phone just looking at Google Docs and doing this today, and this is your primary device that you're carrying around. How about iPads?
I saw a lot of them out there.
iPads, some Surfaces out there probably, right? But you can access this anywhere. A couple years ago, I was teaching a class over the summer at San Diego State with grad students, and I was on vacation in Catalina. I was sitting on my little balcony that I had, and I was looking at Google Doc assignments, making comments on it, just on my iPhone 3GS. So you can do this anywhere. And of course, our kids have mobile devices anywhere, and it's also good on your Macs, your PCs, your Chromebooks, just about anything.
Sharing of documents. You can share a single document with 200 people. So think about across your district with other teachers or with your students. So you can share 200 people. And in a little while, we're going to edit a document, and we can have up to 50. We're going to try it. We'll see how the Wi-Fi works on it. But we can edit with at least 50 people. And we've done this before where we had 50 people editing the same document at the same time, and we're going to try to replicate that today.
Now, I hope none of your classes are above 50, but if they were, there you go. You can open it. You can download your files. You're stuck in a Microsoft world still, or your district is, or your secretaries are, or whatever it is. You can still download as Microsoft Office files, PDFs, and you can upload those files as well. And Google Drive, that over where you're going to store all this stuff, is also a file repository. You can bring all sorts of files into that.
So if you're thinking about video, if your students are doing videos and you want them to store them somewhere, Google Drive is the place. Photos, same thing. And last thing is that we can, and thinking about this, embed or share finished files with others. So we can actually, if you have your students creating Google Sites, they can insert or embed their different things that they've created in Google Apps. We're not going to cover that today, but that's a great thing to look at, is using Google Sites to kind of bring it all together for your students. Limitations, there are some limitations with Google. And one would be somewhat, this is getting better, but must be connected to the internet. Not as much anymore, because a lot of what we do maybe in Google Docs is word processing, maybe doing some presentations, or what we call Google Slides now, and possibly drawings too. But really it's word processing. And you can go offline with Docs now. And we'll maybe demonstrate how to do that at some point. How many of you guys have used Google Docs offline? Raise your hands. Some of you.
On our way here, when we were flying here from San Diego, he pulled up a Google document, and we worked on some stuff to get ready for this presentation. And we were not on any Wi-Fi then, so we were able to just get on it right there.
Now, some of you guys may be saying, but it doesn't do as much as Office. Like, we can do so much more in Office. I'll let Dan talk to that because he is...
I'm more passionate about that.
Yes.
Yes, you can't do as much. Office does a million things, and it does a million things decently. But we probably need about 7. All right. Plus, you do have to give some stuff up. I come from a desktop publishing world. I'm also a photo teacher as well as a social science teacher. I like every pixel to be exactly in the right place. In Google Docs, you don't get that. You don't have as much control as you do in a Word document, and that's okay. You don't have as many font choices. Actually, now you do. Google has unloaded a whole bunch of font choices. But for years, I was Palatino, like 12 straight years. All I'd use was Palatino on my Mac. And then when I started using Google Docs, it wasn't a choice. And I couldn't go Times, so I had to go Arial. You know, those are the sort of internal dilemmas I was facing making this transition. You know, some of you are like that. Don't mock me. But with Google Docs, you give a little bit of that up. You give a little bit of the control of how perfect the document looks. I've become more of a minimalist as I've moved over to Google Docs and haven't made things as fancy, which I didn't have the time to be doing that anyways. And so here you have the ability to collaborate and share and publish and access anywhere, and I've given up Palatino, and I've given up being able to move my pictures by a pixel.
I think the word I use is Google Docs, if you're talking about just word processing, is more functional, for me at least. When I think of functional, I think of collaborative, being able to share, and access. So do I need everything, like Dan was saying, in Word? If I do, if I need to build my resume and I need to put my resume out there and I want it to be beautiful, I'm probably not doing it in Google Docs. But everything else, I do in Google Docs. So these things are getting better too. The limitations, Google's overcoming them. We're going to jump into forms.
We're really going to go into depth on two tools, forms and docs. There's obviously spreadsheets are Power Forms. We'll just touch upon that. And we'll touch upon drawing and slides, but those two I think are the foundational, we think are the foundational tools for Google Docs.
How many of you guys have created a Google form? Raise your hands. How many of you guys have used a Google form with students? Oh, good. I like it. We believe, and we use forms religiously, and I'm not, I'm saying that term like we love Google Forms, and probably use it, if we want to say throughout the week, maybe 5 times with each of our groups of students. So I teach high school, I teach 5 periods. I'll probably, with each class, they'll fill out a form maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week, depending on what I want them to do. So forms are something we're using constantly. And what we want you guys to do, and maybe you've already done this, is there's a little link right here, and it's also on your sheet that you may have received.
And if you didn't get one, look to someone next to you and say, can I borrow it really fast?
So you can scan it with a QR code or use that shortened URL. Or if you're already on the website and you're on the forms page, you just click on, please complete this form right here. And what will pop up is a form that looks like this. Now, you don't have to be logged in or have a Google account to complete this. That's kind of the beauty of Google Forms, is that people say, oh, I don't have an account. Well, you don't have to have an account. Just give me the information. But of course, when we're using it with students, they're all going to have accounts. So as you're completing that, I'm going to go back, and we're going to look at the results or the responses as they come in. And you can see that people are putting in information, and I'm going to just drop down here a little bit further so that as you fill it in, we see some results coming up. So we've already had 31 people in here. And this, again, is something we gave, maybe, in fact, we had one individual fill it out last night. We saw on there that, is anybody, where is he?
Brandy.
Brandy.
Is Brandy here?
Is Brandy here? Oh, she didn't even want to come. She just wanted to fill out the form. That's cool. At least she got the website and can use the stuff. But you can see we're popping in. We've got 42 people giving us information, instant feedback. Imagine using this with your students. So you want them to respond to maybe some questions and come in and have a discussion in class. Maybe you want them to do a reflection. Whatever it might be, you can get that feedback instantly. We can also, and we're going to show you guys in a few minutes, we can sort that data really easily, depending on what we're looking for.
This is also a good way to start the year. You want parent email addresses. The worst thing in the world is having them write the email address down and then you typing it in or a TA typing it in. You're going to have fail after fail with that. I used to have probably 50% fail because I typed it in wrong or the parent didn't know how to write it out. But they type it out and you have it. So you collect information at the beginning of the school year with that. You collect URLs for other projects. Maybe you're doing an Animoto or a WeVideo or even a Google document and you want to collect it use a Google form, collect the URL instead of having that big old nasty URL come out to have it written down somewhere, which is impossible.
And then you'll have everything pop up in that spreadsheet. Okay, we're going to go to we can look at this data and we go up to form up here. We can look at a summary of responses, and we can see some. If you didn't notice, we created different types of questions. So we put in some text questions. We put in a paragraph question, but we also put in checkboxes. So we're asking you, hey, what tools have you used? What Google apps have you used before? And the biggest one up there is Google Docs. And about, we've got 85 people in here that have used Google Docs. Okay. Forms, maps, spreadsheets. We can see Google Groups is pretty low. Google Drawing, pretty low. So then those are things we would know, oh, maybe we should tell you more about those. But we're not going to tell you about those today. Sorry. So these are, again, this is very good feedback. And then, so we did check boxes, but then we also did a multiple choice. Best thing about my visit to San Antonio.
Look at that. 42% were kissing up.
Yeah. Well, you haven't even gone through this, and you're saying unleash Google. And then we have some different things in here. We like the one about Tex-Mex. So 4 people in here like the Tex-Mex. And we got the air conditioning. Some people are loving that air conditioning. Anybody with the others? Anybody want to shout out what their other was? What? Nightlife.
Oh, yeah. The Riverwalk is pretty cool, isn't it?
We missed that,
San Antonio. That's pretty cool.
Okay. So, again, we put in different questions just to show you guys how we could gather summary responses. You can do this with your students, too. What kind of data do you want to show them to maybe start a discussion or to review with them? So we're going to jump out of there real quick, and we'll talk more about this right here, potential uses. So we went through and we talked about collecting student information, collecting data. You guys can click on here and see the forms that we've created and the results that we've come up with. So when we're collecting data, looking at student assessment, so actually creating a quiz and using what's called Flubaroo. Okay, polling students, maybe doing some best of voting, reflective, instant response. If we go back to the results up here, there's a couple things we can do with this. We can also hide information if we're going to put it up on a screen. So if we wanted to hide people's names, there's a little triangle right here when we scroll over the column B, and I'm going to close that. I scroll over this and I hit this and it says sort. So we can actually sort it by, we would normally put up maybe last names or something like that. We could arrange it by school districts. See how many people are from what school districts. So we can sort the data by going up to and clicking on that little arrow right there. And that's how you put things into alphabetical order, really is how I would do it, or period numbers or something like that. Dan, anything?
So, yeah, I had in my photography classes, we had an ongoing assignment where students had to go find a professional photographer, a working photographer, or an artistic photographer from the past. And they'd have to go and analyze a few of their photos each month. I call it Photographer of the Month. I had one Google form. They had to put in their period. They had to put in the month. And then I would go in at the end of the month and just kind of read over the response and check it off. Very easy, something that the first year I did this, I did it on paper. And now they can get on the computer, they can do the form, I have it, and that's less paper I have to deal with. I can go in there, and sometimes I have the kids say, I totally did that. I'm like, well, when did you do it? And they'll try and say it, and I say, well, it's not in the form. And I'll search for the name, it's not in the form, it's timestamped. Or they said, I did it by the due date, May 31st, and I'm saying, yeah, it actually says June 2nd on the timestamp. So there's a way of knowing exactly when they turn things in as well.
Oh, I don't have access to this. So here's what Dan was talking about. Students are just filling out that information, and as they pop in, new people pop them in, they're down here. He's hidden the timestamp on the left-hand side, the columns, and I don't have access to it, so I can't move that over. But we can hide columns out of view also. What's that?
Show the hide columns.
Maybe I'll go into one of mine. I don't know which one's mine.
So we would sometimes hide columns if we're sharing that data with students or other people, and we don't necessarily want them to have their names revealed. Or with you guys, we don't want everybody to have all your email addresses. Okay, so we will hide that email address so you don't get massively spammed, by whoever's.
So here's the timestamp right here on the left-hand side. It automatically sets up a timestamp, but often we're going to take that and we're going to go down to hide column, and that gets rid of that. You can see here I've alphabetized using the sort, and I've also set up in order or alphabetized or sorted by period. So again, this is also easy for grading purposes. How many of you guys actually grade anything?
Oh, I hope there's more hands than that.
I mean, I act like I grade. And I just show the students, and I say, oh, I put in alpha order and all. But no, really, we have to grade, I think. Even though we think that we should just go into the classroom and it's fun to learn, and that's what I believe. But my students demand that I actually give them a grade for some reason. They've been brainwashed into thinking grades are important. So this is a great way to easily go through and grade. Anything else? No. Okay, we're going to jump into a mass edit of a document. So again, let me step back. Use this page, this forms page. At the bottom, we have some other kind of helpful hints when using or setting up your forms. And we also have on here, up at the top, some screencasts up here for collecting digital assignments. So if you go to our link up here, screencasts, collecting digital assignments, if you want to, they're doing some kind of web, you're using some kind of web tool or creating something on the web and you want their URL, instead of them emailing you a bunch of emails and you're like, wow, I can't handle this, I'm never going to do that assignment again, have them share with you a URL through a form. Okay, mass edit. So what we're going to do before we even talk about Google Docs is we're going to mass edit a document. And I gave some people a little sheet, and it has a number at the bottom. And your job was to go in, and we can see some people already filled this out, go in and actually find your number, not someone else's. Find your number, and then fill out and complete the form. And I'm going to open up the actual document here so that we can view it. If you're using a phone or an iPad, you may have to log into your account to edit. Is anybody having that as an issue? Okay, so if you're on a computer, for some reason it just lets you go in because we've opened it up for editing purposes. But I still haven't gotten around to why that is on my phone. Like, I'll have to go in and be logged in my Google account to access the edit button so I can edit a document that I shouldn't need to be logged in for. And up here you can see a bunch of people are anonymously logged in. And who's number 10 out there hasn't given us any response? Did they leave? Are you having a hard time?
Connection problem.
Okay. Yeah, we've been having that too. But you can see people are putting in information right now. I can also go in and I can edit if I wanted to and put in a response right now. But all these people, since I handed them a sheet of paper at the beginning of this session, have put in some responses. So you can see here what was the best session, and this might be a good document to go back to so you can see what other people have enjoyed. I mean, how many sessions were you able to get to? Not all of them. So this is a collaborative document now that all of you guys can use. And we have somebody in here saying that, hey, digital natives are restless. That was our session we did on Monday, was the best session. Thank you very much. But you can see Tammy's top 20. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to find that and check that out. QR code generator that works with Google Spreadsheets. Okay, Dan and I, we need to check that out. So Chromebook classrooms and hardware choices. So again, this is something that I would go back and look at.
And just think, there's 150 people or so in the room here, give or take, and we just had 50 people all contribute to a document just like that. You know, if you think about there's 30 kids, 35 kids, 40 kids in your classroom, 20 if you're lucky, you could all edit a document at the same time. Think about what that used to look like with a Word document. You couldn't do it with a Word document. If you're working on a Word document with 4 or 5 other people, you had to email it, you had to track changes, you had to send it out, one person had to accept the changes, then you emailed it out again, and then all of a sudden, who has the latest document? I have 15 versions of this document. Which one is the one I need to have? So this, you always have the latest version. You always have what is the most recent, which just is revolutionary. That is revolutionary as far as how we can get information, share information, and work together. It changes everything.
So I'll be going back through that document for sure to check out what some people are putting in. We're going to get into docs real quick here and talk about docs because it is really, I mean, think about what do we use the most? Word processing. What are your students going to use the most? Word processing. So docs is the most important. And I'm going to go over to your screen.
No, not yet. No, we're gonna,
this is yours.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No. Okay, so we're all familiar with word processing. I'm going to show you a document, a Google Doc in action, what it looked like completed. So I've taught AP World History in the past. This was from 2 years ago, when 2 school years ago, so about a year and 2-3 months ago is when this was written. I had 2 students that were assigned to work together to write a change over time essay for AP World History for my class. I grouped them by grade. These 2 students happen to know each other, but not all my students are that friendly. They met for 15 minutes, and then it was due 5 days later. So they went in and actually took a template that I had created and made a copy of it. So if you have a document that's read-only, you share that with your students as read-only. They can go in and make a copy of it. So they made a copy of my template. Let me just show you what that looks like. There's my rubric template. So they started with this. It gives some instructions, and the last instruction, or second to last instruction, is delete the instructions. Okay, has the rubric in there, and it says start writing your essay. So this is what theirs ended up looking like. And they went through and wrote their essay over a period of 4 or 5 days. I went in and checked in occasionally, making sure they were making progress, making sure that they didn't have any questions. And then once it was done, I graded it on here. I didn't print it out. I highlighted items. You can highlight an item. Oh, this is view only right here. But you highlight an item, and you can go to Insert, and we're logged into. It's the wrong thing.
That's yours.
You can log in, and you can. Yes, there it is. No. Okay.
Just search it.
Yes. Sorry.
The great thing about Google is that if you can't find your documents like Dan, then you can always search for them.
He judges me. Just because I don't have a good organization system. Okay, there it is. Okay, insert. I can highlight, let's go highlight that number 1, saying, yeah, you got the point, insert. And it can be anywhere in the text, insert comment. And the great thing about comments is you can use them as grading, but students can use them as they're collaborating as well. They can get in and write something, and then the next person can go, okay, I want to say something about that. They can respond to the comment. So you could have like a threaded discussion, an asynchronous, not at the same time, threaded discussion. It's because these kids have different schedules. And so they may have a question, or they might have one, Mr. McDowell, what do you mean by this? Or does this work? And then I can get in there and go, yeah, it totally works. Or no, think about it this way. So they can collaborate. There's also chat. So you can have, the kids can chat with one another if they're on at the same time. And they're good at chatting, you know that, right? You know, they know how to chat very well. And so they can get in there, so if they're on at the same time, they can chat. If they're on at separate times, they can comment. And then again, I go and grade this way. Now, what is the biggest problem with group work? Who does what? And there's a couple things that happen there, right? You have the slacker who's stoked to be with the motivated kid. Not necessarily, you can have smart slackers too, you know. You have the kid who doesn't want to work, who then, sweet, someone else is going to do all the work. And then you have the type A personality who says, no way am I going to let you screw this up. Okay, so it goes both ways. And you guys know those types of students. Well, one of the best things, one of the great things with that is you can look at a revision history. So you can actually look at who wrote what, when. So we can go back, if we scroll back a little bit, it was due at it was due at midnight on April 17th, 2012. Okay? So they finished at 11:48. There were kids who pushed it all the way to 11:59, just because. They were even making significant changes. But I could actually see at 11:47, if I click on this, I can see what did she do at 11:47. She made a couple changes down in the concluding paragraph. Okay? So they have that. They have that. And I can literally see a minute-by-minute flow of what they were doing. And this is how, I don't use Turnitin.com. I don't use plagiarism software when I do this because I see the writing unfold. I see it from nothing to something. Now, if at 11:33 p.m. there is nothing, and then 11:34 there is a 5-paragraph perfect paper, something's fishy. Okay? Because A, they didn't follow my instructions and they typed it all out in Word, or they found the greatest essay ever online and copy and pasted and hoping it was that. But this allows me to see it unfold. It also, like I said, allows me to see who did what. So Tally was one, Grace was another. We do our Google Apps for Education we used to do it by their student ID. So they are literally a number. We've just changed that, I think, for this coming year. But they were a number, so I forget which is who. But I can go through and see who's done what. So that's actually the first thing I do is I go in and check. Is it about equal? Okay, is there about the same number on number of edits? Every once in a while there's a kid who can't get on, and they go to the other person's house, and they just tell me. And I'm okay, that's cool. But I tell them, and the first year I caught someone who said they did it, and I said, look at the revision history, you didn't do anything except put your name on it. I tell the students every year, I'm going to check this. I want it to be this. It is also very important to think about how you do collaborative assignments and not just dividing up the work. It's working together. So if you're just saying you do paragraph 1, I'll do paragraph 2, and then we'll flip a coin to see who does body paragraph 3, then that's not necessarily good teaching. That's just giving them, then you have a disjointed, ununiform essay written with 2 different voices. So you want them to work together to make it sound like the essay, or whatever it is you're doing, is all coming from one person. So, did I miss anything?
I think you're good.
All right, so we're going to go back to Ruben's thing. Oh.
First one. Okay.
So there are lots of great features. You can create, you can edit, you can do MLA formatting now. You can do all sorts of stuff with this where you can, the formatting has gotten a lot better as time has gone on.
Big key things with this, and I'm going to go back to Dan's essay right here. When we're looking at, imagine this is my document, key things would be the share settings, of course. When you are working in a Google Apps environment, you have more choices. So up here we have public on the web, anyone with link. You have our district, Grossmont Union High School District, so only people, it's the walled garden concept. Only those people can see it, or anyone with link within the Grossmont Union High School District. So we can really limit who can see. This is great for if you're especially working with kids that are 13 and under, and you're now able to, their parents' fears can now be put at rest, if you want to put it that way. Generally speaking, unless you want to publish to the world, which I often recommend, but most kids are going to want to put maybe anyone with link, because they're not necessarily ready to share with the world. So that's a great setting for that, or they can put that onto their website and link it to their website so people can see their ePortfolio with that document on there. I'm going to jump back to our main page here. And we put a bunch of key features on the side, but also at the bottom, we put some resources. These are resources you want to utilize. Adding voice comments to docs. There's a little tutorial down here. There's the screencast that we've created. There's also a great blog, of course, the official Google Docs blog. And then Google Guru is a website where there's all kinds of tips and tricks, and also great screencasts on there. More professional than ours, probably. But great, check that out if you've not heard of Google Guru. So again, that's Docs. We're going to jump into Octopus and Scripts. How many of you guys have heard of Octopus? Okay. How many of you guys how many of you guys have heard of using scripts? Okay. How many of you guys have used any other script? Okay, a few of you.
Okay. So one of the biggest hassles with Google Docs is collecting assignments from kids. And there are a number of different ways that we have 3 major ways, and now a fourth way of doing it. The kids share with you, and if you have 100 essays, they all share it with you, and then you drag it into a folder, and that's the way I've done it. You can have the kids set up a folder, and they can, that's theirs. They drag their stuff in there, and it does it. You can go and check that folder, or you can have sort of a Dropbox mentality. There is a script called Octopus that actually takes the stress out of all of that. It will, you create a template. It will then share that template with all your students. You create a spreadsheet with their email addresses in it, or their Google account addresses in it. It will send them that spreadsheet. It will share it, or excuse me, send them that document, that template. It will share it with them. You are the owner. It will share it with them. They can write it. Through the spreadsheet, you can check up to see when they're making edits. And then you can click on a link, and it will take you straight to that document. And it will put all the documents in a folder or wherever you tell it to put those documents. And then when you're done, you can attach a rubric to it. So you're able to go in and attach a rubric to it, fill out the rubric, and then it pastes the rubric into the document. Does that sound pretty cool? It's if you like Google Docs, it's like magic. Lots of things like magic from Google. All right. So I'm just going to. I'm in the other account. Okay. We're going to go. Here's one that I did with some of my students from San Diego State this semester in a grad class, where I have this spreadsheet where I shared a template of a lesson plan that they wanted to do, and it got all shared with them. I can see when they last edited it. This was due back in April, so it's right there. All the documents in lesson 2. Oh, they're all in this graded file. So they're all right there, and I'm just going to click on one. And see that little I right there? That lets me actually go into the rubric. So I can go, and once I'm done looking at it, I've made comments on it, whatever it happens to be. It's very low-grade animated GIFs. Any second now it's going to find it. And the rubric pops up. I created the rubric in a Google spreadsheet. Here I've already filled it out. And so I get in there, and then once I put in the numbers, I hit submit and paste. And then down at the bottom, it pasted it right in there. It also took those scores and put it in my spreadsheet, so I have it all right there. And while you guys were while you were doing the mass edit, and Ruben was talking about the mass edit, I actually just did that with you guys. Anybody who filled out our form, I just shared a. Let's see if it went all the way. Oh, almost. It's still going, I think. Yes, it's still going. It takes a while to do 100.
It's going. It's showing up right there.
Yeah, you can see. Are they being made?
Yeah.
So it is now making a document that has. I gave it a nice naming convention. Naming conventions are really important. So I just ISTE13 dash your name dash your school district. And in your shared with me files now for that Google account, as it's coming through. You will have a document. Now you can just go and delete this document. It's just for practice to show you. But now, if you wanted to complete that document, I would be able to see last edited, when you last edited, to the minute, to the second, when you last edited it. So I can track it here, and then I didn't make a rubric for this fake assignment, but I could go in then and click on, go into there, click on the Rubric, or the Rubric I, silly names, right? Octopus and Rubric. And then the rubric that I had made would pop up, and I could grade you upon that. And so this is a great way to send students templates. I've used this for a note sheet just in my world history class. I want to students to take notes online in a certain way with a certain kind of table. I shared it through Octopus, and then they were able to take notes in a very organized fashion that I wanted them to do for this particular project. So it all kind of it all comes together very, very nicely. Now,
I'll go back here.
Yeah. So I kind of talk through it. The best way to figure it out is go to the script site and watch the video. It's really, really simple to do it. This is how to install it, because there's about a four-step process on how to install it. And then there is another video that says how to use the Rubric. I've done this 7 times now, and have had no problems whatsoever. No problems doing it like this. And I'll just go in there really fast. We're in yours. Okay, let's go to mine. Octopus creates a little set of your little item to the menu bar, and then it has the different steps. And if we had gone, let's go here. If we go to Octopus here, I can refresh the last time of edit, attach a rubric, embargo for grading. So I can say, instead of telling students, which I normally do 11:59, no editing after 11:59 on Tuesday, I can actually shut it off at 11:59. And so they can't do it even if they wanted to. Okay, and I can see those edits, but I can just shut off. There's no way. Okay, I can show average rubric scores. I can send personalized emails to the students if I wanted to, and I could also turn the ownership of the document over to the students. So I'm done grading their essays. I don't want all these essays. That's going to be hundreds and hundreds over time. So I can release them to the students, and then they own them, and I can get rid of them. So at the end of the school year, I keep some things, but I can get everything else, turn it back to them, then they own it, they can do what they want with it. They have their digital copy, and we can all move on with our lives. So this script does some pretty amazing things. Now, complementary to this script is another one called GClass Folders, which just came out a month and a half ago or so.
Anybody use GClass Folders or looked at it? Okay. Incredible. So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, you put it, again, you put students, sort of like in Octopus, you put students into a spreadsheet, and it will create an assignment folder in their
Google Drive.
Google Drive. So it'll create a folder in their Google Drive, and then they just drop stuff into it. It'll also create a place for you to put documents for students to view, your syllabus. You don't want them to edit it, but you want to have them to be able to access it. You drag your syllabus in there, and they can access it at any time and look at it. So a view document, also a place where you can put documents for them to edit as well. And Octopus works with it, so I could actually have them send it to all their different folders. So I can then help organize them as well, make sure they're putting stuff in the right place. You should teach them those things as well, but for me managing my class, it becomes a whole lot easier between these two scripts. Another script is Autocrat, which lets you do some merge, mail merge. Those of you who miss mail merge, the three of you, could, I actually do use mail merge occasionally, but you couldn't do it in Google Docs and with Google Docs and spreadsheets. Now you can do it with Autocrat. And then PageMeister lets you do the same thing with Google Sites. So you could actually create Google Sites for students, give it a certain name, and you could check when they edit them and all this sort of thing. So these scripts are adding significant functionality to what we're able to do.
When you're thinking about functionality, you're thinking about workflow, finding what they're doing, and having kind of the big thing Dan mentioned was a naming convention on everything. You want to have them not just send you an untitled document, because how are you going to find their untitled document? So again, it goes back to, I mentioned before, grading. Okay, if you want to be able to access easily for your workflow all of their information, you need to have these things set up in place. It just makes it more functional. We're going to go to Drive now, because we've been talking about folders and looking at naming conventions and all that kind of stuff. So what used to be called Google Docs is now called Google Drive, about a year ago. And basically, when we think of Google Drive, you should be thinking of that hard drive, that thumb drive, that little box that you carry around as a hard drive that has, 1 gig or whatever storage, or it's your computer hard drive. Drive is just like any other drive. How many of you guys are using Dropbox? Dropbox users out there? Okay. So Dropbox, same thing. This is cloud storage. So you're putting everything into your cloud storage. We have a Google Drive Basics presentation on here. Again, this is something you probably want to go back to. But what we want to do is we want to pull up for you and look at one of our Google Drives. Are we in yours? Mine? Mine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull mine up, drive.google.com. And you can see in here, under my drive would be all of my things that I have. And I have them organized into folders. I'm kind of, well, I don't know how to say it, but particular about that kind of stuff. You can see that Dan's was a little bit all over the place and scattered. We live in two different worlds.
We share an office. I drive him crazy.
Yeah. My mom taught me to do it this way, I guess. Or maybe it's in my DNA. So I have everything organized in folders, but if I click over here on the drive, you can see my folders, and then when I pull up my folders, and I'm going to go into, actually I need to be in my other account, don't I? Maybe I'll do that really quick. But I share some documents. Imagine I want to share documents with somebody, and I have a global studies class and I have a sociology class. Well, all these other folders right here, all the things that we've created, I've worked with a PLC team, and 3 of us have created a class called Global Studies at my school. And so we share everything. Well, how do I know that this is shared? Okay, here's a folder that I have in Drive, and we all have access to it. In fact, if I click over here and I open up the shared section of this, I can see who we share this with. And I don't just share with my colleagues that I work on this with. And you can see that Matt Norris is an owner. I'm an owner or editor, and this other guy named Josh Reyes. But also on here, we've shared it with other teachers throughout the district that teach similar courses to ours, geography, technology, or geography, or whatever they're teaching on their campus. And all these people have ability to view everything that we've created. So this is the collaborative power of Google Drive. We can give all of those people viewing rights, and then they can make copies of whatever they want to. So that's just with teachers. When I look at my students, and I'm going to pull that up real quick.
And if you're not using Chrome, use Chrome. You can have multiple logins. Just a side note.
So yeah, I'm going back and forth between some of my different accounts, but this is my Google Drive with my students. And in my Google Drive here, if I pull this up, I'm a little less organized over here, I think. But my classes from this year, I have each of my classes 5, 6, and 7 were my global studies class. It's a geotech class. So they're doing a lot with technology, and Dan was mentioning like organization. So within this folder, I have all my students in here. And I just had them unshare with me, or almost all of them. Some of them weren't there for the last part of the year, or they just didn't follow my instructions, of course. But you can see here, they turned their name back into global studies. But for the year, I had them actually create a folder. I didn't use GClass Folders because it wasn't available. So I had them create a folder. And I created a naming convention. Period number, 5, underscore, last name, underscore, first name. And that became the folder that they would drag everything into. And I'll find maybe somebody who would have everything in here. Let's try Nate's. So here's all Nate's stuff that he has shared with me throughout the year. So whenever he wanted to give me something to look at, he would create it and then drag it or move it into his folder for my class. Helps them understand the concept of organization, but also now I have access because the settings on that folder were set up so that he was sharing with me. I was somebody who could view his stuff or edit his stuff if I needed to. And then at the end of the year, for example down here, this student, I still have access because they left it as anyone with link, but I don't have access to edit this, I guess it's Katie's, Catherine's stuff. So all of her stuff's in there, and I still can see it, but I can't edit her stuff. And I wanted her to disconnect from me. So just call it Global Studies, and I'm going to get rid of all these folders because I don't need them in the future. They're going to move on, but they're keeping them in their drive. So this is important for them to understand the concept of naming conventions and how to share with a teacher. Anything I missed? Okay, other features on Google Drive, of course, is the Create button up here. So if we want to create something, we looked at a document today, we looked at a form, you can create straight to a spreadsheet, you can create a Google presentation or what's called Google Slides, or a drawing right directly from here. We can upload. Okay? If we wanted to upload files, it's going to pull files from my computer, so I can go into and I can take all the files on my computer if I wanted to, and I can just select whatever I want to and put them into my drive if I wanted to.
Two things can happen. You can upload your files and keep them in their original format, PDF, Word, that sort of thing. Or if it's a PDF or an Office file, you can convert it to Google Docs. Now, you do that hesitantly because all those things that maybe you've done with Word over the years, moving things, putting pictures in, boxes, none of that stuff's going to translate that well right now. We're going to see this getting a little bit better in the next little bit where you may actually be able to edit a Word document and it looks very much like a Word document, even though it's now in Google Docs. So that is getting better, but I have like legacy files that I made 10, 12 years ago where I spent a lot of time making sure lines and boxes and pictures were exactly where I wanted them, and when I upload them, it's a train wreck. So some of those things I just upload as Word documents so I can put them on my website so students can still see them and download them if they lose the one that I gave them, but they could but I couldn't edit them online. So if I wanted to make a change, I'd have to do that offline on Word and re-upload them if I wanted to.
And again, you can put almost any type of file into Google Drive now, so it can be your storage area if you wanted it to be. Search. So if we wanted to search through all of my stuff, I can just just like Dan was showing you, we were looking at before, we can search for something if we wanted to. We can also go to what's called the advanced search. So if you go up to that little arrow there, you can click on there and it says advanced search options. I can narrow down what I'm looking for. So if I've lost that presentation, and I'm just going to pull up all my presentations right now that I have access to, it's going to pull up anything that I have access to or want to look at. So that would all be, again, a great way to search through your stuff is using that search tool. Anything else? And then the sort. How do you want to view your stuff is over here. Down at the bottom, we have shared with me. I'm going to close up my drive right now. But under shared with me, these would be all the things that people have shared with me. And looking through my documents, again, and access those. And again, I can search through that if I don't know where something is. I can go to recent, and I can also go down here to more, and this is where your offline access is. Down here under create, offline. And then I can access whatever I want to, and you can see that Dan set up some different things for you guys based on and it was shared to me. So here's all the things I could edit. I guess I have editing access to all of your documents that he shared with you. So, or we can just go in and we can create a separate document if we were offline. Anything else you want to cover on that?
Just in the shared with me folder area, if you wanted to drag some of these, go with shared with me, and if you wanted to then, if you wanted to put those places, the shared with me, you could then drag those into some of the folders. Because otherwise they stay separate from your files. So, because oftentimes you might have lots of people sharing things with you and you don't necessarily want them. So it used to be they all came into your recent files that are on that main drive. Now they're all under here with shared with me. So then if you want to file them, you want easy access to them later on, you can drag them in over there. And this is, at our school, all our major documents related to the school are now in Google Doc folders that have been shared with us, and we pull those into our drive. So if we want to know who has period 2 off because we need someone to cover us, or we want to know what the schedule is for collaboration days, whatever, we can go into these documents and they're shared with everywhere. So we're using it as a larger organizational tool as well. So we all have access to the most current documents related to anything about the school, and of course then within our classrooms, anything within our classrooms.
Down at the bottom of this page, go ahead.
Yep. No.
No, it remains the same because it's shared with you, so you're just moving it to where you can access it.
So if that person who shares the document with you then deletes it, it deletes your copy as well.
So you can make a copy of it too.
So if you wanted to make sure to keep something, or someone says we're deleting that or whatever, you can then make a copy of it, like I showed you with the template early on.
So you just go up to File, make a copy. That's the way you would do that. Then
it takes your, except with Google Drive, you don't get charged at all for any Google Docs. The only thing that goes against your space is things that you upload like video, PDFs,
photo,
PSD files, all that stuff. It does none of the actual Google Doc stuff. So I have some for my photo class. I have some Google presentations with some pretty high volume, lots of pictures in them. Maybe really big PowerPoints. But it doesn't count against me at all because it's all within a Google presentation.
And Google Drive now you have 30 gigs of storage, which is significant. So you shouldn't probably be using all that up unless you're storing a lot of video.
Yeah. They just combine your Gmail and your Google Drive. Okay, you used to get 5 gigabytes. Now you have 30 to use between your Gmail and your Google Drive.
At the bottom of the Google Drive page is we've listed some key logistical questions like, hey, how do I get to my drive, or how can I manage it? So we put some screencasts in here. Our screencasts are generally 2 to 3 minutes. Just again, so if you have questions, or share these with other teachers that have questions. So again, this is a resource. This website is a resource for you. Last thing we're going to go into is drawing and slides. And maybe the first place you want to start with students is having them create a drawing. And it's a, when we look at Google Drawing, it's a blank canvas. So if we were going to go in and create a drawing, here it is. And we can share and we can make something together if we wanted to. And and work through that drawing. But we'll go back and look at this real quick. So we've listed some examples on here if you guys again want to go back, and this is one that Dan's students have done. It's kind of an infographic if you want to put it that way, and I'll let him talk about that.
Yeah, it was just from AP World History class. I wanted them to make an infographic about a specific element of the Mughal or Ottoman empires. You pick a small piece, create a visual with some text that other students are then going to be able to use to help study as well. Not only are you going to go into more depth on something and show your knowledge of this and use some data as well, but it's going to be a resource for other students. So much different than the poster board. If we had done that on a poster board, those would be gone. Maybe some of them would be up on the wall, the best ones. But here, all those were right there. And again, it was just started with a blank canvas, and then you're able to do what you want on them, and then we're able to save them all and put them in. And we put them in a Picasa album, which is part of the.
So
Google
you can turn them into an image. So you're looking at turning them into a JPEG file. Is that what we turn them into, or we turn them into something else? JPEGs. Or PNG or whatever it is. But now Dan has captured all of them as images. So here's that same one, and we can pull it up and look at it. And now students can also take these and make them their own if they wanted to, the image version versus just their drawing. And now everybody else in class can see them too. We don't have to post them all over the room, and they're always accessible. When we're going in to create a drawing, where's our tools? Over here on the right-hand side, we have some options too. This is kind of a great tool for within the tool of Google Drawing, is that we can search for images right in here and pop something in, and then it'll pop up, let's just say cats.
And you can do this in Google Docs and in Google Presentations, so that the Google research bar.
So now we have some options for cats. We also can filter this. We can look at usage rights. So not filtered by license. What if we want to maybe look at free and fair use of these cats? And now I see this image, and I want to just drag it in here. Okay, so we're talking now about fair use. We're talking about Creative Commons. And now I have my cat picture or image on my drawing page. So it's that quick. We can also go in and, like I said, research if we wanted to. Everything. We can use Google Scholar. So again, a great tool that has Google search or research built into it. I'm going to jump over to real quickly because we have only a few more minutes. And Google's answer for PowerPoint, which is Google Slides. How many of you guys have used Google Slides before, or had your students use Google Slides? Students using Google Slides? Okay. I found that my students know PowerPoint really well. My 9th graders, when they come into me, and that's the only tool they know how to use. They may not know how to use it correctly, but they can get on and they love PowerPoint because they feel comfortable. So this might be another place you start when you're starting to introduce them to Google Apps for Education, is the drawing and maybe the PowerPoint, a limited PowerPoint where they're using a lot of images and little text.
And your fellow teachers as well, as they're moving over. I know there's still a lot of teachers who aren't using Google Apps because they still have PowerPoint. And this is a way that maybe they can make that transition over. Because as more students use it, they should be using it as well.
I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah. So I just wanted to go very quickly back to the Doctopus. It officially shared with all of you. I'm somewhere in there. Oops. There I am. So all of you now, except for 2 of you who your email addresses weren't in there correctly, have a copy of that template. So if I were to click right here on this, there's the template that's coming up. This is Kimberly's from SISD. And there's the template, directions for use. Everybody has the same one, but you have your own personalized copy with the title right there.
And you don't have to complete this assignment. No. We know that you're overwhelmed, but we're not going to be grading this.
And we threw a ton of stuff at you. Okay? There's so much here, and we sort of do that on purpose because you don't need us walking you through how to type into a word processing and all that. But we have provided you some great resources here that you can then go through, tackle a tool at a time, come back to our resources, look at the screencasts. It's Ruben or I talking about all these different things in the same sort of way that we've talked about it. We've talked about it here today.
Okay. So, any questions? Anybody out there?
We'll stick around for a couple minutes if you want to come up.
We want to recognize there is a winner of a book called Teach Like a Pirate. If you haven't heard of this book, it's written by Dave Burgess. It's an amazing book. And we have Kay. Where are you, Kay? Because you were in our last session. Kay, you coming up? You're up there. You're back there. Let's give her a round of applause. So if you guys have questions, come up and see us. We'll talk to you about anything. And have a great last session, maybe if you're attending it, or going to see the keynote. And I hope you guys enjoyed Esty.
Yeah, safe travels.
Thanks for coming.
Safe travels back home.
Hey, good job.